So if you've landed on this video, you're probably looking to get into flash photography. Uh, One question that everybody has when they first get into it is, should I use TTL flash, whether it's eTTL for Canon, iTTL for Nikon, or should I use manual? And a lot of people tend to shy away from manual right off the bat because it is a little bit intimidating. There's, all the numbers, uh, full power, which is 1/1, half power, quarter power, eighth power, so on and so forth. And people don't understand what that all means and how it works with everything else. So they try it manual, they take a picture, and they just get this big white picture. So a lot of people go to TTL, and it pretty much does everything for you. What TTL means is it's through the lens metering, and when you have the flash on your camera, it sends out this little pre-flash burst which bounces off your subject, comes back in through the lens, and your camera takes a meter reading, decides what exposure to set, and takes the picture from there. Now all this happens in a fraction of a second. You don't even see the pre-fire flash, it just happens. The problem with TTL, and I know a lot of people have said this as well, and I firmly stand by it, is it's inconsistent. I have some examples to show you in a little bit, and that's why 9 times out of 10 I will tell people to stay away from TTL and learn full manual. There are times to use TTL, but most of the time you're better off to use manual. A good example for manual would be if you're doing portraits, a studio shoot, outdoor sort of shoot with people, you're doing off-camera flash. Once you set the flash power, you set your aperture and shutter and everything to get a correct exposure. As long as your subject doesn't move from the position where you metered them from, every single shot is going to be consistent. It's going to be the same over and over and over again. You get better results if you use a light meter. It's way easier. As soon as you start adding other flashes to it, it's going to be the same thing. Where with manual, you have your main light, you have your fill, you could have a background light to create some separation. You set them all to where you want them, and again, every exposure is going to be the same. Once you start adding multiple flashes, if you want to start doing off-camera flash with TTL, with one flash, it's going to be, like I said, very inconsistent. But if you start trying to add extra flashes to this whole scenario, not only do you have one inconsistent flash exposure, you're going to have 2 or 3, and you're not going to have control over your image, and what you want is control. Let's take a look at the examples that I put together now. The top 3 were shot in manual, and they're 3 consecutive images, with the camera setting at f2.8, shutter at 1/200th of a second, with ISO at 125, and the flash power was set to 1/128th power, which is the lowest setting I have. You look left to right, and it's the same image all across the board with regard to the exposure. Nothing has changed, just bang on every time. Now you look at the bottom, which was shot in all TTL, the same thing, 3 consecutive images. The camera setting at f2.8, 1/200th of a second at ISO 125, but I don't know what the flash power is because it was shot in TTL, and which means it's auto. I don't know what it does. It just takes the reading and it fires. And you can see what I mean by inconsistent flash output. The first picture is quite bright, decent exposure. The second picture, it's a little bit darker, and the third picture is even a little bit darker than that. You can see the bigger difference between the first and the third. Now, if you look at the middle one on the bottom, the TTL middle one, you look right into the eye, and you can see right there why TTL is the devil. So as you can see, there is a difference between manual flash and TTL as far as consistency is concerned. And that's why 9 times out of 10 I'm going to go with manual, unless I'm doing a running and gunning event. You may be looking at the TTL and going, well, it's not, there is a difference, but it's not that big of a difference. But I assure you, when you're out and you start adding more lights to a situation, it's going to just turn into a bigger mess, and it's going to have a bigger effect on your post-production workflow. You're going to have to go into every single image and adjust the exposure separately, or the highlights, or what have you. You're going to save a lot of time shooting in manual. And it is a bit intimidating at first, but once you start playing with it and you start to figure it out a little bit more, it's just going to click one day, and it's like, I got it. How did I not get this before? It'll just be like that, just one moment of clarity where it'll all make sense. So you just got to get over the speed bumps to get to that point. I will put together a video that goes over how manual flash works, just the basics, how aperture will control flash power, how shutter will control the ambient or available light, and ISO controlling both. So I hope this helped clear up the TTL manual debate just a little bit. If you have anything to add, you agree, disagree, just feel free to comment and we can talk about it from there. So, until next time, we'll see you later.